July 2026 monthly board meeting of the Florence School District 3 Board of Trustees is now called to order. In accordance with the South Carolina Code of Law 1976, section 30-4-809D as amended, the following has been notified of the time, date, place, and agenda of this meeting. Morning News, Lake City Shopper, WBTW, WPD, and WMBF. The agenda is also posted on the Florence County School District 3 website. Madam Secretary, a roll call.
We have everyone in attendance except for Mr. McKnight, and we have Mr. Brown and Mr. Locklear on the phone.
Thank you. At this time, please ensure your electronic devices are off and on silent or on silent. Dr. Schubert, our superintendent, will come before us from on the side and pledge allegiance. Please stand.
Everybody here for a moment of silence for the Locklear family and the loss of their father, and for Silent Dixon and the Dixon family.
Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Board, I will entertain a motion regarding the agenda.
I move we approve the
I have a motion by Ms. Julia Mims and a second by Ms. Paula Ward. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all in favor to approve the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Board, I will entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Chair, I move that we remove the minutes, or there's, some errors. And I noted in the minutes,
Okay.
so with everything else, I'll do consent agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Ms. Board, I have a motion by Ms. Ruther Ferguson and a second by Ms. Rebecca Yates. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all to approve the consent agenda with revisions to the past meeting minutes, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're down to public participation. I think no one has signed up for that. So we're down to the board chair report of any meetings or schools attended. Ms. Ruther, you have anything? Okay, thank you. James? Ms. Ms. Morris? Thank you. And then request to attend any meetings on our board secretary knows, so we get Ms. Acuna, get signed up for anything we need to go to. And then another thing on the board chair, the statement of intention of candidacy, opens up for re-elections is Monday, August the 3rd at noon to August 17th at noon. Because I think there's 5 people re-running, so we can't forget about that. August 3rd to August 17th. Yeah, noon each day. You just have to have it filled out, turn in to the district office or the elections office. All right, now we're down to the superintendent's report with the superintendent, Dr. Sean Suber.
We will now have our work with, finance director, Ms. Wilkins.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and other members of the board.
Good evening.
I would like to present to you Florence County School District 3, July 2026 finance update. Our mission statement ensuring our students are college, are career ready, and are productive and responsible members of society. This slide lists the district goals for fiscal year 2025-2026. The general fund, reports are linked to the board agenda and also posted on the Florence County School District 3 website. The general fund approved budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 is $35,646,811. The approved use of fund balance total is $5,553,007. Which brings fiscal year 2025-2026 general fund approved budget plus board approved use of fund balance to $41,199,818. This is the general fund by object as of June 30th, 2026. Are there any questions about the update, finance update? All right, our next slide. This slide is revisiting the fiscal year 2026-2027 board approved final reading as of June 18th, 2026. Our total revenue was $35,798,102. Our total expenditures was $37,297,102. We were out of balance. Amount was $1,499,000. So at this time,
Board members,
Evening.
at this time, we would like to request, $1,499,000, to make our budget be, in balance, as of right now, it's out. For the fund balance.
We still don't know what our state funding is, right?
Yeah, we still don't know, right now, and it's even more imperative that we make sure that we have this in place, because we don't know what's gonna happen with the state legislature.
So when that comes through, could we get more than we're thinking, or could it be worse, like either way, or do we even, like? could
Depends
we-
on if they vote, right now it's a continuation,
Yeah,
so we don't know what they're gonna do.
Okay.
I'm hoping, that we've done what we've always done in the past,
yeah.
so that we can have fun.
and we did use the House version, which is the least amount to be conservative and not use the Senate version, which was more.
So we could get more and not have to use all that, but we just need to move it just in case we have to, right?
Yes.
Any more questions or?
What is this fund balance prior year? On the,
Yeah, just have it blank there, I don't know if that was on.
The fund balance, I have.
it says prior year, it doesn't.
Issue act. You pass that down.
Thank you.
So if you look at the, let's give it.
No.
Okay. At the very top, it says the fund balance as of June 30th, 2025 audit, and that's what we have to go by. Request for use of fund balance for 2025-2026. So as you can see, the first part of the paragraph, it shows what that fund balance was that ended for 2024-2025. So we requested, September 2025, $3 million for the stadium upgrade. And then October 2025, We requested 1,200,000, which is for purchase services that was needed. So that gave us a fund balance ending of $11,276,216. Then we went back in the month of November and we requested Christmas bonus of $786,213.52, November 2025. And then we also requested for retention bonus, $411,881.37. So that brings us to a total of fund balance left remaining as of November 2025 of $10,078,421.11.
So that's what's in there right now.
That's what's in there as of November 2025. We're working on the audit. We also have our annual audit on yesterday, and we have our full audit on October. So we will either add to it or not add to it.
So that's $5,500,000,
See, I'll override the previous
or
year.
550. That's our bonus from last year.
That we did the retention.
I'll tell you that, there.
But that's the only thing. So what is that so far off of this 10 million? This, is on the page.
I think that's what they're saying we took out of it, so.
Yes.
That's not what's remaining, that's what we took out.
That's
Oh,
the
okay.
usage.
I'm
Yes.
reading it wrong, I'm sorry.
Okay, and I was thinking, I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, that's what's showing that.
Yeah, I was thinking that was the balance that was
No,
remaining.
No,
in
no.
it.
And then the
Okay.
other ones is also taken from the prior year. You see the last two, 2024, 2025, they were carryovers or whatever for that.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
so the 10,078,000 that we have right now,
yes, sir.
and we're taking the 1.5 from that, of what you do.
So you said that after they pass the budget, we still may add back to the fund balance, or we may not.
I can never say what we.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
you said may or may
Yeah,
not.
no.
Yeah, we just don't know for sure yet.
My question is, it seems to me that every year we're taking out money from our fund balance for our general fund. So what do we need to do to keep doing that, because that's no way to run a business.
Well, eventually you're gonna be out, I mean,
You're
you'll
gonna
be,
be
we'll
out.
be below the number if we keep doing
Right.
this, so yeah, that's what we gotta figure out why we over the last couple of years.
Well, the revenue is decreasing as well from what we receive. We have student loss as well every year.
We're just paying out more than we're bringing in, though, that's the thing.
Yes.
And then you had, funds left over from COVID, that's, and all these other things that been carried out.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what.
And everything else, right? And, we should have been asking this question before all of this right here. We in the pickle now.
Yeah.
We have no other choice but to do what we gotta do right now.
Yeah,
I understand that nobody wanna keep taking from this, but I hear all these questions in 2025.
So the ESSER funding, they call it the ESSER clip, the reason why they call it the ESSER clip, because we have positions, and we're not the only ones that do this. Many districts across the state, the nation are facing the same thing, same issue, because they, when the ESSER stopped, they wanted to keep the positions,
yeah,
but they didn't have the funding to cover those positions. So that's why most districts right now are dealing with the same thing we're doing.
And people in Columbia ain't got.
so I guess down the road, we're trying to fix this where that number is not as big, or trying to balance it more out without having to pull from that's the process on things we're
Look at other options right now.
trying to do.
I have some options that I'm looking at right now.
Okay,
We can look at, now, the Christmas bonus and retention bonuses, we got a whole
Yeah, I
lot.
was thinking that too.
we gonna, I mean, that's $1 million.
Yeah.
Cause that,
Everything got to be on the table again.
Okay. All right, board, I will entertain a motion regarding the request for use of the fund balance of the $1,499,000.
I make a motion, we, use, fund balance for the $1,499,000.
I have a motion by Ms. Mandy Thomas and a second by Ms. Paula Morris. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all in favor to approve the request for the use of the fund balance of $1,499,000, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
At this time, we will have, human resources update from Ms. Angela Scott, the Director of Human Resources.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Personnel report for the month of July. Currently, we have, one English position, 2 science, 1 social studies. We also have a Spanish position now as well. We no longer have a business position.
Are these positions at the high school or which school?
The English position is at the high school. We have a science and social studies at Romney here, and we have a science at, J. Paul. Our Spanish is also at J. Paul. We also wanted to share with you as well that we have updated our application site. So as you go on, you'll actually see that there is a new site. We actually like this version better. It gives our candidates more information, including the salary range. They can filter by the position that they would like to, and this system will automatically send out job alerts when we have a new position that's posted. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Mary Howard, Chief Academic Officer, will give our instructions update.
Good evening, board chair and board members. Tonight for our instructional update, our theme for 26-27 is stronger together. So we'll be looking at that throughout this presentation. But tonight we want to share with you just a follow-up from summer learning. We talked about summer learning last month when we looked at our 3rd grade Read to Succeed camp, but overall, our summer reading camps provided a robust learning and enrichment opportunities for students. We served over 290 students, 4K through 12th grade. We had early literacy and numeracy, writing and research, art and STEM integration, our reading and math intervention camp, also high school recovery and readiness, and then we also had an aviation camp that our students had an opportunity to participate in with the Dr. Ronald Reed McNair Foundation. So we did have students to participate in that as well. So we had a lot of opportunities for our students this summer. One of the ending things were we were gonna look at ways that they could display their learning. And so for the outcomes, we had strong academic gains. We looked at the, of course, our 3rd graders had to take their iReady test again. At the end of camp, we will use the data from fall for everybody else in camp to enter into Power School for state tracking. But we really looked at gains in reading fluency, math, foundational skills, just increasing students' readiness and their comfortability with writing. 21st Century Camp, which is a lot of pictures here, they did a ocean theme because they did end up taking the kids to the aquarium, but their end of camp celebration showed everything that they had been learning and working with and having a integration of the arts. We had Caroline from OGO Studios to come and work with the kids to provide artwork throughout the summer. Also with our third grade camp, we partnered with the State Department of Education for their Spark program to come in to work with writing and research with students in third grade. And then our summer STEM camp showcase at the Boys and Girls Club. Students there were able to show all of their new learning. We actually have a high school teacher, Ms. Henry, that comes in, and she's our STEM person for the summer. And so she does lots of hands-on activities with students. They did circuits this summer. Of course, they made oobleck and did lots of science hands-on projects, and the kids had to explain their learning. So lots of learning at the Boys and Girls Club this summer. Always a great program. Again, our theme is Stronger Together, United by Purpose, Driven by Impact. We're going to be looking at being one team, one purpose for every student. Last year, our theme was Everyday Counts, so we're just trying to keep that in the midst of what's happening here with our collaboration, accountability, and efficacy. We want to make sure that everything that we do, we can answer how does it benefit students. So some of our professional development last week with administrators, we had a great time for the first week back. We looked at those three big words as a part of our values. What does it mean? How do we put this into action as a leadership team, as a district team? So with leading with systems and support, we actually, and Dr. Stuber's going to talk about this a little bit, I believe, in his presentation as well. We had some visitors to come in to do a color assessment, just so we can learn more about each other as leaders and how to work with each other. So that was out learning the wolves, and sometimes you just can't do the same things that you've always done. You got to give the quiet people in the background that usually have something very important to say, but we don't always hear what they're saying. But they might be a little bit lower than somebody else that's saying, do this and do that. So really looking at your team, looking at what each person brings to the table and how we can take advantage of that. So some of the things that we did doing our PD together last week was culture building, vision casting, just where do we want to be by 2030 as a district in Florence School District 3. And each school got to cast their vision, or each team of people would talk about what does it look like? What would it sound like? What would our community say about Florence School District 3 by 2030? Really looking at being that premier district of choice, looking at our test scores being on point and looking to reach that target of 75%, being the best of the best in the PD is really what it all sums up to be. And so we talked about ways that we get there. We got to have high expectations for our students, but also high expectations for our staff and for ourselves. So making sure that we're holding each other accountable. So we started digging into the work, talking about what would it look like in our classrooms, what would it sound like in our classrooms, which led us to the next slide, being our instructional framework. There you go. And we looked at what is going to really drive Florence School District 3, making sure that every classroom that we see these things in there, what is their success criteria? So if you go in as a board member and you are observing in my classroom, do you know what I'm looking for? Do the students know what I'm looking for by the end of the lesson? How did I activate that prior knowledge? How did I connect it to be meaningful for students to get buy-in? And then my explicit instruction. Did I explain to students what everything means? Did I break it down for them so they know step 1, we gotta do this. Step 2, we gotta do this. And then giving them an opportunity to have guided practice, independent practice, and then checking for understanding. How as a teacher do I know that you learned what I taught today? How do I know who I need to come back to for remediation? Or who do I need to excel? And we talked about, very importantly, number 7. And this also, our presenters on that Monday talked about closure and reflection. Closure in the lesson gives you 80% more growth to know that students can actually explain what they're learning. So thinking about that 80%, that is very important, that we need to see that in every lesson. And that's the important part of that backwards design and chunking the standard down so that we can actually say, hey, today this is what we're learning. Now let's talk about it. What do we do today? How do we use it? What are the steps to it?
And then the 8th component of this instructional model is differentiation, which will be throughout the whole model. So we really dug into that as a team. What does it look like in a K2 environment, in a K6 environment, our middle schools and our high schools, and really did a looks like, sounds like. And then we did a gallery walk so everybody could go around and see what each team came up with. And then we came to a consensus on these are the things that we want to see in our classroom. And we actually did some of this work this week with instructional coaches, Ms. Christie. And we kept our posters from last week from what their principals said or their leadership team said so that we can actually compare that so that we know whenever we are all on the same team about what we see when we go in classroom. And it is just to support and to get better. It's not to say, oh, Mr. Kirby didn't have an opening today. You know, what do we need to do? How do we explain that to him, the importance of putting it in kids-friendly terms so kids know what they're learning? So we had a great week. We were excited. Our teams were excited and ready to get back to the work. So our PD for our admin was great. This week, we actually had new teacher orientation and coaches training, in which we've had a great week this week as well. Again, our commitment. We all have different roles. We have one purpose, and together we can make it happen. So we went through the roles of what is the role of the district office? What's the role of the principal, the assistant principal? How do we all work together so that every student, every day, every opportunity is meaningful in Florence School District 3? So we are on fire about what's going to happen this year and the direction that we're going. And we were all excited that our principals were excited about the work that we put in last week. So looking forward, like I said, this week, we did have our new teacher orientation, all things Florence 3, to introduce them to being in our system. We had Earla PD, which is our reading for our K-5 teachers, and then for our upper grade level teachers, our secondary people, we had Dr. Gunder come in and talk about literacy strategies. We looked at the 4.0 rubric. We did that with principals as well, just kind of saying, hey, what does this look like? What does it mean? And then today we had Leader in Me, because this year our whole district will be Leader in Me schools. And so we had Leader in Me for our new people so that they can get acclimated quicker with their schools and where they are with Leader in Me. For our coaches, not only did we provide in-house PD, we reached out to some phenomenal people across the state. Ms. Robin Hefner came in to work with our coaches to look at explicit instruction, to go right back to that instructional framework to say, hey, we're going to start with 2 strong points, the opening and the closing. What does that look like? How do we get all of our teachers on board with that and collecting data for that to be able to use in POC? Next week, we will have district-wide PD. All things core. We got ELA with letters and Study Sync. So Study Sync is our secondary textbook. We will have PD for them. Our Ready PD, Math Nation, will actually come in and do face-to-face PD for new teachers. Will be a morning session. Returning teachers will be in the afternoon. Mr. Blake had someone coming from the State Department of Ed to work with our U.S. history teachers for PD. Mr. Burgess is going to be working with elementary school counselors and principals with the Paxton Lab to get those career labs going in our elementary schools. Ms. Graham is going to be working with our OEC department next week with teachers and assistants to look at instruction across the district. So we are excited about the PD that we have lined out for next week as well. One of the things for Save the Day, on Monday, we have our opening ceremony at 8:30. We would love to have all of you to join us at the high school. Schools will have open house on July 28th from 3 to 7. We invite you to drop in. And believe it or not, the first day of school is July 1st. We'll be back in business. And then August 13th is our back to school parent conference. So the Office of Federal Programs is busy planning that for our families. So you will hear more about that very soon. We'll make sure that we send you an invite for that. Any questions for instructional updates or from the instructional updates?
Yeah, everybody got a collection basket. You always make me think we need to take up a collection.
Well, Miss Ruth, I'm telling you, we've been working, we're tired. Thank you.
This time we'll have Ryan Huckabee, Director of Operations and Communications, give us an update on students.
Good evening. We'll start where we always start, fire alarms. We're about 90% complete with panels and devices at Basic Early Childhood. Conduit installation at high school is continuing, and once that is done, Jay Paul and then Ron McNair will follow. I'll tell you, this isn't moving as well, we're not as far along as we expected to be by now because of some delays on the front end, getting OSS approval. So that's kind of pushed us back, but we still expect to finish by June 30th of next year, because that's when the school safety grant funds have invoiced and paid. So we're not worried about that. All our training projects now are complete. I think we still have a few bathrooms that need to be painted, but those will be done weekends, holidays, that type of thing. Our swimming pool at the high school is no more. Yes, we have some nice, beautiful concrete there.
Everybody can be happy.
Well, I think Kevin Graham and the bus drivers will be the happiest of all. So they will not have to drive through the water and mud. And that came in on budget. Okay, moving on to our district modernization project. It's been a busy summer with this. We've done the power shutdowns at 7 district facilities to install sub-meters, which will monitor our electrical use. LED lighting upgrades are more than 90% complete. Controls installation are underway at in the gym high bay battery replacements, which are backup batteries basically for the emergency lights. Those, by law, they have to stay on, what is it, this thing, 2 hours in the event of power loss. So we have to also test those every year. So they're working on that now. Building automation is nearing completion at Main Street, and Ron McNair will come after that. We've got a punch list for windows at Olanta that's being worked on now. The transformer replacement at Cape, along with rooftop units, are scheduled for installation over the next 2 weeks at the high school. If you remember, when they removed rooftop units at Ron McNair, they discovered that there was some old ductwork that could not be reused. So they're working to replace that ductwork now and get the unit installed. So that's progressing as planned. Ward Memorial Stadium, the lighting poles have been installed, and Raceway and wiring are in process. The field house construction is continuing. We've got a roof, we've got some size, they're starting to, it's really starting to take shape. I think today that they're actually running electrical wiring. The ticket booths have been framed, and I believe they actually have sheathing on there now. I mentioned last month that Tadlocks would paint the letters inside the stadium, the Panther letters. We're actually going to have signs limited to do that. They were a little bit cheaper. So we save money where we can. And also last month, I think Dr. Mims asked about a price for painting the exterior of the block wall all around around the stadium. We talked to our painting contractor and our pressure washing contractor, and we got a total quote of about $60,000 to do that. Our concessions and restroom mobile is in place, and our contractors are now tying in water, sewer, electrical, and all those utilities. And in the midst of all these projects, we've had our floor crews going school to school, moving furniture, stripping wax, re-waxing, all the while trying to stay out of the way of all the contractors. So it's been quite a juggling act. They will have a little bit left in the cake building that we expect to be finished up by Tuesday. So we're in good shape with that, and I will give a shout out to those guys and also Mr. Driggers, because he has kept this train on the track with all these contractors in the district this summer. And then on the next slide, we have our tracking spreadsheet that just shows all the expenditures, all the fund sources, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time we have a policy update from Ms. Casey.
We're gonna start out with, a policy revision, there we go. JFAB, South Carolina Code 598165, which the South Carolina Department of Education, we're waiting for model, guidelines to come out about this policy. We have a JFAB, but with the new model guidelines that came out, we had to add a lot of additional stuff to our current policy. And this is required statewide. This is the model policy with, the revisions that have been made. And each, district across the state is required to submit their new policy to the State Department no later than August the 26th to make sure that all aspects of the guidelines are included in, the model, or in their new policy. So these are the items here that have to be included in the model policy. Mr. Huckabee has given you a link to the entire policy so that you can see that, it was way too long to include on slides. But in the policy, and this is talking about transfers from students outside of our district into our district, okay? And so it discussed the eligibility, the applications for admission, about what records would be required of students coming into our district. Transfer fees, we often refer to that as tuition, but in the policy they call it transfer fees. There is a statement in there that says the district has the option to waive those fees if they choose to do that. It also talks about transportation for students coming into our district. They would have to provide their own transportations. It also talks about athletics. We don't really have much of a say-so in that because the high school league determines who's eligible and who's not, and living outside of the district, there are some things that you have to meet there, so that part is discussed. Continued enrollment is also discussed, that once we accept a kid, they can continue that enrollment for additional years. There is an appeals process if the district denies a child entrance into the district. That appeal process is listed there on what the rights the parent has, and then monitoring and reporting that to the State Department. So there is the policy, the JFAB policy, as well as the as-in rule that is attached to that has even more details, and Mr. Huckabee has linked both of those there for you to review. But like I said, this is the model, and we had to include all of these new aspects to our current policy for us to be in compliance with what is now required from the State Department.
Okay, so did that transportation apply to special needs children?
Living outside the district? Yes, ma'am. As far as not providing transportation, yes, ma'am. If they do not live inside the district, because our buses can't go outside of, we have, it's called Transfers, which is the tracking device that's on our buses. and we have to submit our routes, and we can't go outside of those, routes. So yes, ma'am, even if a special needs kid came into our district that lived outside of our district, they would have to provide their own transportation.
So the $1,000 still applies, but we have the option. So we all have the option.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there is, it's under the part in there that says, transfer fees. It says that the district has the right to waive all or partial of the transfer fees. So that, is included in the policy. So that leaves it open to the district to decide.
Any other questions? And that's all of this policy, just, okay?
Yep.
Board, I will entertain a motion regarding the revision of policy JFA, admissions of non-resident students. JFAB, sorry.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the policy revisions for policy JFAB, admission of non-resident students and admission of transfers.
I have a motion by Mr. Jaquil Brown and a second by Ms. Maddie Thomas. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all in favor to approve the revisions of policy JFAB, admission of non-resident students, inter-district transfers, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Alright, the next, slide. I actually went through mine a little too fast. It's a policy, it's not a policy revision, it is just a revision to admin rules, so we're just informing you guys. This is for JRA, which is our policy that deals with student records. And, Ms. Ruckleby has also linked this, and this is being added at the bottom, at the last part of the, admin rule, so if you scroll all the way down, you'll see this, but this is everything that's being added. This policy deals with FERPA and, student data. This particular part here, that is the last slide, April. Deals with, student test scores and the use of that test data. So you can see the the 3 paragraphs there that are, added onto the end of that admin rule. The first paragraph there dealing specifically with, FERPA, that's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And then talks about how we understand that there is a legitimate educational interest of teachers and administrators in test scores for individual students as well as groups of students with accountability requirements, at the state and federal. Teachers and administrators share responsibility for ensuring the success of every student. Given the need for improving scores, planning for future students, investigating short and long-term impact of interventions, and comparing and monitoring scores of subgroups, educators need access to the information for students that they serve and those that they are not currently teaching. Technology has made that access a little more accessible. So recognizing the legitimate interests of teachers and administrators with the student data, the district expects that such access be used only for legitimate educational purposes. So just making sure that we cover ourselves there with test data, especially as it is a little more accessible with the technology. All right, and so that's just a revision to an admin rule, so that is just informing you of the addition. All right, any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna, repeat everything Mary used to do such a good job of explaining last week. But as leaders, as district leaders, as school leaders, we wanted to make sure we started with our why. And to me, that keeps us, as being grounded, to understand that we are here for a certain purpose, of the educational responsibility of our students, and to provide, personal development for teachers and administrators, in order to reach the needs of those students. So we started out with that, and then we decided on our core values, collaboration. We want to make sure that teachers are collaborating, administrators are collaborating with one another, from school to school. The more we work as a team, the more type of couple we are as a team, the better success we'll see for our students academically. Accountability, which is a big word for us as educators, because it provides us, it keeps us in the box, so to say, in order to do what we need to do as far as taking care of our students' educational interests, but also holding ourselves accountable, telling the truth when we need to tell the truth, but also taking responsibility for our actions, whether they are good or whether they need to be improved. Efficacy is outcomes. We do all this, collaborate, we hold ourselves accountable for outcomes for our students in our work and what we do, to ensure the academic success and social success of our students as well. By being model for them. And being transparency, making sure that we're not hiding anything, we're not hiding any card in debt, put everything out there. And when we put them out there, we understand that even if it's difficult, we do it anyway because we want to be a good protector. All right, next slide, please. And this leads to the difference between transactional leadership and transformational leadership. Transactional leadership is responsive. We no longer want to be responsive. On the transformational side, the leadership is proactive. So we want to make sure we're catching the situation before it happens, forecasting, and making sound decisions in regard to being proactive, to prevent us from being responsive. We want transactional leaders work in the organizational structure and to never deviate. That means no changes. We definitely don't want to be transactional. We want to make sure that we're constantly seeking to improve the organization, promote innovative ideas, and solve the problems that come. With transactional leadership, it's more or less about reward and punishment. What can I get out of the situation as a leader? Transformational leadership, think of others first, and less about the same. Next. So we also talked about the role at each level, and it's important to know what our job responsibilities are. So we can't keep everybody in their lane, so to say. All right? Everybody can't be principal. Everybody can't be a leader. You kind of know its role in it, right? To ensure that we are leading with integrity, but leading within the guidelines of our responsibility. So with school leadership, principals are responsible to cultivate a healthy collective focus, their mission and vision for the school. Two, to make sure they have a collaborative culture. And what I said to the leaders last week, and I said all the time, and Casey, I think, has it in her office, and we'll start laughing at each other. But culture is the worst behavior you allow. What are you willing to allow? And where that floor is where your culture is. So again, going back to accountability, making sure that people are accountable for themselves, for each other, and the responsibility of our students. So all this work is not me just making up stuff out of my head. It comes from sound research of leadership, right? So Rosano is well known for his leadership. To talk about district leaders and how it works, and we talk about the will to lead, the skill to teach. For district leadership, our role is to establish a collaborative culture, just like the high school, but not just within the school, all our schools, to make sure that we're going in the same direction. Also, to make sure that we are, I can't read that, that's how I know. I did the same thing last week. Got to a certain point, I was out of class. All right. Thinking strategically and developing learning techniques for our principals to help them grow. They in turn help our teachers. And that is a role within itself. Understand that the district office is a function of support, but also providing resources to students and teachers that they need. Planning professional development and building capacity. If we're not growing as leaders at the district level or as principals or as teachers, then our students are not going to grow either. It all works hand in hand, and everybody has to do their part to play. All right. So So we want to make sure that professional development aligns with growing our teachers, our principals, as well as our staff. Then Marzano's report. It says this, we want to make sure that our goals as district office align with the board goals, right? We want to make sure we're ensuring that we have goal setting. So we collaborated last week as a team to set goals. And then establishing non-negotiable goals for achievement and instruction. And the last part is important, those last few words are important. Our focus should always be on achievement and instruction. As adults, sometimes we get caught up in everything else, and sometimes we forget about kids, right? So we gotta make sure the kids remain our focus at all times. And then creating school board alignment, I think it aligns well to what you guys have the goals, already. We wanna make sure that the board and the school district office and the schools are all aligned when it comes to support goals and alignment. And then monitoring those achievements. We gotta make sure that we are inspecting what we're expecting from teachers and from leaders to ensure that we're holding each other accountable. Not in a gotcha kind of way, but in a helpful, growing professional type. And then allocating resources. So resources are important, but resources take money. So right now, we want to make sure that we're aligning, we're trimming the fat to make sure that we're aligning everything to instruction and achievement for our students. We agreed on non-negotiables last week as a team. We talked about curriculum first. We got to make sure that curriculum is proven and evidence-based. So we came up with statements for that. I'm not gonna read all of that. It's in the report that's technical to read it. And then we focus on assessment, instruction, communication, making sure we're communicating effectively across the district. So everybody knows what the right is doing at all times. All right, and positive learning environment. I'm considering adding one more. I haven't talked to the team. Look how they're looking at me.
Just printed the PDF.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I thought about the core values, and I think that we should add joy to the end.
Oh,
I think we should add joy to the end. We have joy in what we do for students and how we lead our teachers, but also bring that joy to the community as well. Sorry, Chris.
it's okay. I'm blue, joy is okay with me.
Yeah. we talked about that. So non-negotiables are collaboration, accountability, efficacy, and I talked about this earlier, and transparency. So we're doing it twice now, Mary, because Mary did it as well. So 80% of it is learning at the end. Our theme for this year is strong together, owning the work, building the impact. Success is not built by individuals working alone. It is built through teamwork, shared responsibility, and confidence that our efforts matter. And our tagline is united by purpose and driven by impact. And we had a vision casting activity, and we're still working on that vision right now. Mary also did a great job with that. We want to make sure the vision is set for 2030. Set the mark, set the goal line, and where we're going. We know where we're beginning, and we want to make sure that it's understood and know where we're going to end up in the 20. So that concludes my presentation.
Here we go.
Alright. Board, I will entertain a motion regarding executive session.
Should I read that? We exit public session and into executive session to discuss personnel matters, concerns, possible hiring, termination, resignation based on leave or legal matters.
I have a motion by Ms. Ruth Ryerson and a second by Ms. Rebecca Yates. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all in favor to exit from open session and enter executive session to discuss personnel matters concerning possible hiring, termination, or resignation based on leave or legal matters, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Or I'll entertain a motion regarding exiting from executive session and reconvening back into open session.
I'll make a motion to open or reconvene back in open session.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Rebecca Yates and a second by Ms. Paula Morris. Is there any discussion? None being noted, all in favor to exit from executive session and reconvene back into open session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There's no action necessary from executive sessions, or I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.